Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Washington quarter dollar coins. Coins that might look ordinary, but some of them are worth far more than their face value. If you've ever wondered whether that quarter in your pocket could be valuable, you'll definitely want to stay and watch this entire video. We're going to uncover the rare Washington quarters, their hidden minting errors, and how certain years and mint marks can make these coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. So make sure you don't skip a second, because the next coin we talk about might just be sitting in your own change jar right now. And if you love learning about valuable and rare coins, subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications. That way, you'll never miss an update when I reveal the next big coin that could be worth a fortune. Let's get started. First up, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark is one of the most fascinating coins in U.S. history. And many people don't realize that this seemingly ordinary quarter can actually be very valuable. In this video, we'll explore everything about the 1965 Washington quarter, why it was made without a mint mark, what makes some of these coins rare, and how certain varieties of the 1965 quarter have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So stay tuned until the end, because you might have one of these valuable quarters sitting in your pocket right now. The year 1965 was a turning point for U.S. coinage. It was the first year that quarters were no longer made of 90% silver. Before that, from 1932 to 1964, Washington quarters were struck in silver. But due to rising silver prices and coin shortages, the U.S. Mint decided to switch to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that the 1965 quarter has an outer layer made of 75% copper and 25% nickel, bonded to a pure copper core. This change was part of the Coinage Act of 1965, which reshaped American coins forever. Because this was such a big transition year, the 1965 Washington quarter has a special place in numismatic history. It marked the end of the silver coin era and the beginning of the modern clad coinage we still use today. What makes the 1965 quarter even more interesting is that it was produced without a mint mark. Normally, coins from Denver or San Francisco carry a D or S mint mark, but in 1965, the U.S. Mint decided to omit all mint marks. The reason was to discourage coin hoarding and collecting, which had become a huge issue at the time. People were saving coins with certain mint marks, causing shortages in circulation. So, for several years, including 1965, all coins were struck without mint marks, making the no mint mark 1965 quarter a coin with a fascinating backstory. Now, although millions of these quarters were made, not all 1965 quarters are the same. There are some rare varieties and transitional errors that make specific examples extremely valuable. One of the most famous and valuable errors is the 1965 silver quarter. Yes, silver. During the transition from silver to clad coinage, a few leftover silver planchets, the blank coins used for minting, were accidentally fed into the presses meant for 1965 coins. That means a small number of 1,965 quarters were actually struck on 90% silver planchets, even though they were supposed to be clad. These rare silver 1965 quarters can sell for thousands of dollars, depending on their condition and authenticity. To tell if you have a rare silver 1965 quarter, look at the coin's edge. Normal clad quarters have a visible copper-colored edge because the copper core shows through. But if your 1965 quarter has a solid silver-colored edge with no copper line, there's a chance it could be a silver planchet error. The weight is another clue. Clad quarters weigh about 5.67 grams, while silver quarters weigh around 6.25 grams. So if you find a slightly heavier 1965 quarter, it might be one of the rare transitional errors, worth big money. Another reason collectors love the 1965 quarter is because of die varieties and minting errors. Some 1965 quarters were struck off-center, double-struck, or have noticeable die cracks, cuds, or doubling on the letters and numbers. For example, doubling in the words Liberty, or In God We Trust, or on Washington's eye, can make a coin especially desirable to collectors. Even subtle die misalignments or weak strikes can make one 1965 quarter worth significantly more than another. Because the 1965 Washington quarter was the first clad quarter, The mint had to adjust its machinery and striking pressure to the new metal composition. This caused many coins to come out with weaker strikes or incomplete details. Quarters that display strong, crisp detail, especially on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the reverse, are much rarer in high quality. Well-struck, uncirculated examples are highly sought after and can command strong premiums. Let's talk about the design for a moment. The obverse features the iconic portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan in 1932. The reverse shows a bold American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, symbolizing strength and peace. This classic design remained in use for decades, up until the 1999 State Quarter Series began. The 1965 quarter, therefore, represents a bridge between the traditional silver era and the modern quarter we still use today. In circulated condition, most 1965 quarters are only worth face value, just 25 cents, but the real value lies in era coins, high-grade examples, and transitional silver strikes. Uncirculated examples with sharp details and strong luster can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on quality. Era coins, especially those struck on silver planchets or with dramatic misstrikes, have fetched hundreds or thousands at auctions. For example, verified silver 1965 quarters have sold for over $5,000, and other mid-era examples continue to draw attention from serious collectors. Even though millions were minted, finding a 1965 quarter in pristine, untouched condition is not easy. Most have circulated heavily over the decades, showing signs of wear and loss of detail. That's why collectors are always on the lookout for high-grade 1965 quarters, especially those that appear fresh, bright, and well-struck. Every year, collectors and treasure hunters search through rolls of quarters and coin jars, hoping to find one of these hidden treasures. What makes the 1965 Washington quarter especially interesting is its role in U.S. coinage history. It tells the story of economic changes, metal shortages, and how the mint adapted to new challenges. Every 1965 quarter carries that story, and if you find one that happens to be struck on silver or contains an error, it becomes a valuable piece of that history. Now, let's talk about toning and eye appeal. Some 1965 quarters have developed beautiful natural toning over time, shades of gold, blue, or purple from exposure to air and storage conditions. These tones can make a coin more visually appealing, and collectors often pay extra for coins with attractive, even toning. Combined with a sharp strike and minimal wear, a naturally toned 1965 quarter can stand out as a premium collectible. Another fascinating aspect of this coin is that some 1,965 quarters were struck on experimental planchets as the mint was testing new clad materials. A few rare examples of these test strikes have surfaced and are considered major rarities. If you ever find a 1965 quarter that looks different in color, texture, or weight, it could be one of those experimental issues worth investigating. When searching for valuable 1965 quarters, always use good lighting and a magnifying glass. Pay close attention to the date, edges, and surface details. Look for doubling, extra metal, or missing design features. Small imperfections can indicate a mint error, which may increase the coin's value significantly. Even though the 1965 quarter doesn't contain silver in most cases, it's a coin that represents an important transition in U.S. history, and because of that, collectors will always be interested in it. The no mint mark 1965 Washington quarter continues to be a favorite among coin enthusiasts, not just because of its story, but because of the possibility of finding one that's truly rare. So, before you spend your next quarter, take a look at the date. If you see 1965 with no mint mark, don't ignore it. Inspect it carefully. You might be holding a coin that's worth far more than 25 cents. Some of these coins have turned out to be rare transitional errors, making them incredibly valuable to collectors today. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark isn't just a coin. It's a symbol of change, innovation, and hidden value. And that's why collectors love it so much. Keep an eye out for it in your pocket change, coin rolls, or old jars at home. You never know when one of these valuable coins could appear in your hands, waiting to be discovered. The 1965 Washington quarter dollar, with no mint mark, truly proves that even an everyday coin can hold an extraordinary secret. Next up, the 1980 Washington quarter dollar with the D mint mark is one of those fascinating coins that continues to capture the attention of coin collectors, hobbyists, and treasure hunters across the United States. Minted in Denver, this quarter may look like any other 25-cent coin at first glance, but when you take a closer look, you'll realize that some versions of the 1980 D Washington quarter can actually be worth far more than their face value. That's why in this video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the 1980 D Washington quarter, why it's valuable, what makes certain examples rare, and how you can identify the features that turn an ordinary coin into a collectible treasure. Now, the 1980 Washington quarter was produced during a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning through different die polishing methods and minting processes, leading to small but important variations between coins. The D mint mark, located on the obverse side of the coin, just next to Washington's ponytail, indicates that this quarter was struck at the Denver Mint. More than 518 million of these coins were produced, which might make it sound like they're common. But here's where it gets interesting. Not every 1980 D quarter is the same. Some of them have minting errors, die cracks, or doubled features that make them stand out from the rest, and collectors are willing to pay a premium for those rare varieties. The obverse of the 1980 D Washington quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, which first appeared on the quarterback in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Washington's birth. The reverse side shows the bold American eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and olive branches, a design that represents strength and peace. Even though this design was used for decades, small differences in strike, luster, and detail can make one 1980 D quarter much more valuable than another. What makes this coin truly interesting is its composition. The 1980 D quarter was made of a copper-nickel-clad layer, which means it has a pure copper core sandwiched between two outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This gives it that silvery appearance, even though it contains no silver at all. Despite that, collectors prize these coins for their condition, strike quality, and mint errors, not their metal content. But that's also where many people get surprised, because a coin that doesn't contain silver can still be worth much more than you'd think. Some of the most valuable 1980 D Washington quarters have been found with striking errors such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, double die obverse, and misaligned dies. These types of errors happen when the coin blank doesn't sit perfectly centered between the dies during minting or when the dies themselves are improperly aligned. Coins with visible doubling on Washington's profile, letters, or numbers can be especially valuable. Even small die chips near the mint mark, eye, or lettering can make a coin desirable among collectors. Another key factor in determining the value of the 1980 D quarter is its condition. Coins that have remained in excellent condition for over 4 decades, especially those with a bright, original mint luster and sharp detail, can fetch a much higher price than circulated examples. In fact, uncirculated 1980 D Washington quarters in pristine condition have sold for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on their quality and appeal to collectors. Those with rare errors or exceptional strikes can go for even more, especially when collectors compete for the finest examples. The eye appeal of a 1980 D quarter can also play a big role in its desirability. Quarters that display vibrant toning, strong strike details, and clean surfaces often draw the attention of experienced numismatists. Even though millions were minted, only a fraction of those have survived in top condition, which makes well-preserved coins increasingly scarce. Over time, as more people become interested in coin collecting, the demand for these higher-grade coins continues to grow. It's also important to note that during the late 1970s and early 1980s, minting technology was improving, but inconsistency still occurred. This led to coins that may appear slightly different in thickness, rim shape, or even in the sharpness of the eagle's feathers on the reverse. Each of these minor details can influence how collectors evaluate the coin. Paying attention to these differences can help you spot a potentially valuable 1980 D-quarter in your own collection or change jar. Now, what really excites collectors about the 1980 D Washington quarter is that it's a coin from a transitional era, before the Washington design was modified in 1999 for the State Quarter series. This makes it part of the last generation of classic Washington quarters that retained the traditional eagle reverse. So when you find a 1980 D quarter in good condition, you're not just holding a piece of change. You're holding a small piece of American history that represents the bridge between the classic and modern eras of U.S. coinage. If you happen to come across a 1980 D Washington quarter, take a close look at it under good lighting. Check for doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering. Examine Washington's eye and the word Liberty for any signs of die damage or doubling. Flip it over and inspect the eagle's wings, the tail feathers, and the lettering around United States of America. You might be surprised to find tiny imperfections or minting quirks that make your coin more valuable than you think. Collectors are constantly searching for 1980 D quarters with strong strikes, full details, and any visible mint errors. Even coins with slight misalignments or planchet flaws can fetch interest from specialists who study error coins. And because many of these quarters have been in circulation for years, finding one in exceptional condition is becoming increasingly rare. This means the value of such coins can increase over time as fewer pristine examples remain available. The historical value, collector interest, and rarity of high-grade examples make the 1980 D Washington quarter a coin worth paying attention to. Whether you're a new collector or a seasoned numismatist, this coin serves as a perfect reminder that valuable finds can appear in the most unexpected places, sometimes even in your everyday pocket change. So the next time you get a quarter in your change, take a good look. You might be holding a valuable 1980 D Washington quarter, a coin that not only represents a piece of American history, but could also be worth much more than 25 cents. Some of these coins have surprised collectors with impressive prices, proving that the 1980 D quarter remains one of the most interesting coins from that era. Remember, always check your coins carefully, because that one small mint mark, tiny doubling, or subtle die error could make all the difference. The 1980 D Washington quarter dollar is a perfect example of how ordinary-looking coins can turn out to be hidden treasures, and that's what makes coin collecting such an exciting hobby. Keep watching coin rolls, old collections, and your own change, because valuable coins like the 1980 D quarter are still out there waiting to be discovered. Next up, the 1972 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark is one of those coins that many people overlook, but coin collectors and treasure hunters know that this coin can actually be very valuable. In this video, we're going to talk about everything you need to know about the 1972 Washington quarter, why it has no mint mark, how to identify the rare and valuable varieties, and what makes some of these coins worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. So make sure you stay until the very end, because the 1972 quarter you have in your pocket or collection might be a hidden treasure. Let's begin with some history. The 1972 Washington quarter was part of a long-running Washington quarter series that started in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, this coin features Washington's bust on the obverse and the American eagle on the reverse. By 1972, the design had already become one of the most recognized and circulated coins in the United States. The version with no mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not use mint marks on its coins at that time. So if your 1972 quarter doesn't have a letter like D or S near the date, that means it came from Philadelphia. In 1972, the U.S. Mint produced over 215 million Washington quarters at the Philadelphia facility. While that might sound like a huge number, not every coin survived in good condition. Over decades of circulation, many have become worn, scratched, or dull. However, those that remain in mint state condition, with strong luster, sharp details, and minimal marks, can be worth much more than their face value. That's where collectors focus their attention. The 1972 Washington quarter is made from a copper-nickel clad composition, with an inner core of pure copper and an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It does not contain any silver, since silver quarters were last produced in 1964. Despite lacking silver, this coin still has strong collector appeal because of its potential for mint errors and high-grade examples, which are highly sought after by numismatists. Now, let's talk about the valuable errors and varieties that can make a 1972 no mint mark quarter worth serious money. Some of the most collectible examples are those with double die errors, where the image or lettering was accidentally struck twice, causing visible doubling. Look closely at the words Liberty, In God We Trust, or the date 1972. If you see doubling on any of those, you could have a double die obverse, and that can make your coin very valuable. Another type of valuable 1972 quarter is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is not properly centered. The more off-center the design is, without losing the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Other rare minting errors include broad strikes, clip planchets, and die cracks that cause raised lines or extra metal on the coin surface. These errors occur during the minting process, and collectors love them because they're unique. Some 1972 quarters also show die wear or die polishing lines, which can create unusual patterns or slight variations in the design. Even though these are minor, collectors often seek out distinctive examples. The Philadelphia Mint was known for heavy production during that time, which means that some dies were used beyond their optimal lifespan, resulting in coins with weaker strikes or filled details. A coin that shows strong, full details on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the reverse can stand out as a higher quality example. While most circulated 1972 no mint mark quarters are worth only face value, uncirculated examples can be worth much more. Coins in mint state grades can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars, depending on their luster, strike, and overall eye appeal. Coins with major mint errors or doubling have sold for hundreds or even over $1,000 in the past. The top-graded examples, those in exceptional condition, are extremely scarce because most 1972 quarters were heavily circulated. Now, let's talk about the design and symbolism of this coin. On the obverse, you'll see George Washington facing left, with the word Liberty above his head and the national motto, In God We Trust, to the left. The date, 1972, appears below his bust. The absence of a mint mark beneath the date identifies it as a Philadelphia issue. The reverse features the bold American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength, with olive branches beneath, representing peace. The inscriptions, United States of America, and $quarter frame the design, creating a timeless look that collectors still appreciate today. What makes the 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark special is its place in history. It represents a period before the modern mint mark standardization, when Philadelphia coins still carried no mark. It also belongs to the final decades of the classic eagle reverse design, which was replaced by the 50-state quarters program in 1999. That makes this coin a bridge between the traditional and modern eras of U.S. coinage. When evaluating your 1972 no mint mark quarter, pay close attention to surface condition, color, and strike quality. A bright, lustrous coin with strong details and no major scratches will always be worth more. Coins that have developed natural toning, shades of gold, blue, or purple from decades of storage, can also be more attractive to collectors. Every small detail matters, especially when you're trying to identify coins that stand out from the millions produced. Another reason collectors hunt for the 1972 no mint mark quarter is because of planchet errors. Occasionally, a quarter was struck on the wrong metal blank, such as a 5-cent nickel planchet or a foreign coin blank. These wrong planchet errors are very rare and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on their weight and metal composition. Always check the color, diameter, and weight of your coin. If anything seems off, you might have a valuable mint error on your hands. Even though the 1972 quarter doesn't contain silver, its numismatic value comes from rarity, quality, and historical context. It's a coin that's still in circulation today, so the idea that you could find a valuable one in your pocket change keeps collectors and hobbyists searching year after year. Every time someone discovers a rare variety or error coin from 1972, it renews interest in this issue and proves that treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Collectors often group the 1972 no mint mark quarter with other early 1970s issues, like the 1970, 1971, and 1973 quarters, to complete a historical set. But the 1972 issue stands out for its distinct Philadelphia origin and unique die characteristics. Many of the dies used in 1972 developed small imperfections, meaning no two coins are exactly alike. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every coin tells its own story. So the next time you come across a 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark, don't just spend it. Take a closer look at it. Check for doubling, off-center strikes, or other unusual features. Examine the edges for clean, even reading, and study the surface for any signs of minting errors. What looks like an ordinary coin could actually be a valuable collectible. Some collectors have found 1972 quarters that sold for several $100s simply because they were well preserved, had strong strikes, or displayed minor minting variations. Others have discovered rare double die examples that shock the coin collecting world. It just goes to show that these coins are worth paying attention to. And that's why this 1972 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark is more than just pocket change. This coin tells a story of American history, the evolution of minting technology, and the lasting legacy of George Washington's image on U.S. coinage. Every detail, from the texture of the metal to the precision of the strike, contributes to its appeal. And as time goes on, pristine examples will only become harder to find, increasing their value even more. So always check your quarters carefully, because the 1972 Washington quarter with no mint mark might just be a valuable piece of history hiding in plain sight. It's a reminder that even an ordinary coin can have extraordinary value, and that's what makes coin collecting such a rewarding and exciting hobby. Next up, the 1967 Washington quarter dollar with no mint mark is one of those fascinating coins that might look completely ordinary, yet it holds a story of history, change, and hidden value. Many people don't realize that this coin, the 1967 Washington quarter, can actually be valuable, and in some cases, worth much more than its face value. In this video, we'll dive deep into everything you need to know about the 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark, why it was made that way, what makes it rare, and how certain examples have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So stay until the very end, because the quarter sitting in your change could be a hidden treasure. The 1967 Washington quarter was produced during a very important period in American coinage history. Just a few years earlier, in 1965, the United States stopped using silver in dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and nationwide coin shortages. Before that, Washington quarters were made of 90% silver, but starting in 1965, the mint switched to a copper-nickel clad composition, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. The 1967 quarter was part of this new clad era, which marked a huge change in U.S. coins. Now, one of the most unique features of the 1967 Washington quarter is that it has no mint mark. During this time, the U.S. Mint decided to remove all mint marks from coins to discourage hoarding and collecting. In the mid-1960s, coin collecting had exploded in popularity, and many people were saving coins from specific mints, especially those with D or S mint marks. This caused serious coin shortages in circulation. To solve that problem, the mint eliminated mint marks from 1965 to 1967. So every 1967 quarter you see, whether it was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, carries no mint mark at all. That makes the no mint mark 1967 quarter part of a special and historic 3-year period in U.S. coin production. Even though millions of 1967 quarters were struck, not all of them are equal. Some examples have unique minting errors, die varieties, and high-quality strikes that make them valuable to collectors. And because these coins are now over 5 decades old, well-preserved examples are becoming increasingly rare. Let's start with the design. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan in 1932. Above Washington's head is the word Liberty. To the left is the motto, "In God We Trust," and below his bust is the date, 1967. The reverse features the majestic American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches below, symbolizing strength and peace. The inscriptions, United States of America, and quarter dollar surround the design. This same design had been used since 1932 and would continue until the 50-state quarters began in 1999. The composition of the 1967 Washington quarter is what makes it different from its silver predecessors. It weighs about 5.67 grams and has a reeded edge. Unlike the silver quarters, the edge shows a visible copper line, which is the easiest way to tell that it's made of clad metal. However, this period of transition wasn't perfect, and that's where things get interesting. Some 1967 quarters were struck on experimental planchets or transitional errors that were left over from previous production years. A few rare examples have been found struck on silver planchets or on planchets meant for other denominations. These errors can make a 1967 quarter extremely valuable. For instance, if a 1967 quarter was accidentally struck on a leftover 1964 silver planchet, it would weigh closer to 6.25 grams instead of 5.67 grams, and that simple difference could make it worth thousands of dollars today. To check your coin, use a precise digital scale. If it weighs more than 5.67 grams, you might have one of these rare transitional errors. Also, look closely at the edge. If it's solid silver with no copper color showing through, that's another big clue that you could have a valuable 1967 silver quarter. Beyond planchet errors, the 1967 Washington quarter is also known for die errors and striking anomalies. Some coins show doubling on the lettering or numbers, known as a double die. Look carefully at the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, 1967. If you see any signs of doubling or shadow-like images, you could have a rare and valuable error. These double die errors can significantly increase the coin's worth. Other valuable 1967 quarters include off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, and broad strikes, where the coin was struck without the collar that forms the reeded edge. These types of errors are highly collectible, and the more dramatic the error, the higher the value. There are also clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin's edge is missing due to a miscut blank. Even minor errors like die cracks, die chips, or misaligned dies can add collector value. Now let's talk about condition, one of the most important factors in determining a coin's value. Most 1967 quarters were heavily circulated, which means they show lots of wear and scratches. But finding one in mint state condition, with full luster, sharp details, and minimal marks, can make a big difference in value. High-grade 1967 quarters are much harder to find because they were used heavily for decades. In top mint condition, a 1967 Washington quarter can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars. If it also has a rare mint error, it can easily go into the hundreds or thousands. Collectors also love coins that have eye appeal, meaning coins that look visually attractive due to toning, brightness, or sharp details. Some 1967 quarters have developed natural rainbow or golden toning over time, which can increase their desirability. These coins stand out and often attract higher prices at auctions or from collectors who value uniqueness. It's also worth noting that in 1967, the mint produced special mint sets, SMS, instead of regular proof coins. These SMS coins were made with extra care and have a semi-proof-like finish. The 1967 SMS quarters, although not rare, are highly collectible when found in pristine condition. Some of these coins display what's known as a cameo or deep cameo contrast, where the design appears frosted while the background is mirror-like. Those examples are especially popular and can sell for significantly higher prices. If you're checking your collection, look at your 1967 quarter carefully. The easiest way to tell if it's an SMS coin is by the quality of the strike and the smoothness of the surface. SMS coins generally look much sharper and glossier than regular circulation coins. The historical importance of the 1967 Washington quarter adds even more to its appeal. It represents a time of change in U.S. coinage, when the country was moving away from silver coins and transitioning into modern production methods. Every 1967 quarter tells a story of that era, the economic adjustments, the minting experiments, and the efforts to balance tradition with progress. Even though the 1967 quarter doesn't contain silver in most cases, it remains a key collectible coin because of its background, its connection to the silver transition, and the potential for valuable mint errors. It's one of those coins that still circulate today, which means that you could find one in your everyday change without realizing its potential worth. Collectors and coin enthusiasts continue to search for high-grade and error examples of the 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark, and the demand remains strong. Whether it's a rare double die, an off-metal strike, a misaligned die, or a beautifully preserved SMS coin, the value of the 1967 quarter continues to grow among those who appreciate its history. So, before you spend another quarter, take a moment to look at the date. If it says 1967, examine it closely. Weigh it, inspect the edge, and look for any unusual markings or features. You might be holding a coin that's worth far more than 25 cents. Some of these coins have shocked collectors with their high auction results, especially when they're rare varieties or in exceptional condition. The 1967 Washington quarter with no mint mark is more than just a coin. It's a piece of American history, a symbol of change, and a reminder that even the coins we see every day can hold real value. Many collectors started their journeys by finding coins like this in pocket change, and the thrill of discovering something rare is what keeps coin collecting exciting. Keep checking your coins carefully, because one day, that ordinary-looking 1967 quarter might turn out to be something truly extraordinary, a valuable treasure hidden in plain sight. The 1967 Washington quarter dollar, with no mint mark, continues to be one of the most interesting coins from the 1960s, and it proves that every coin has a story worth telling and possibly a value worth discovering. That's all for today's video, my friends. If you enjoyed learning about these valuable Washington quarter dollar coins, make sure to check out my previous video on wheat pennies, because some of those old wheat pennies are also worth a surprising amount of money, and you might have one hiding in your coin collection right now. Every coin has a story, and every collection could hold hidden treasures, so don't miss it. If you love discovering the true value of rare and collectible coins, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on all notifications, so you never miss a single update when I reveal another valuable coin that could be sitting in your pocket change. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, where we uncover more rare, valuable, and historic coins that every collector should know about.